everybody? Yeehaw. Welcome to Attitudes with Auntie. I'm going to speak with a little bit of speed, a little bit of passion, because my phone's about to die, but I really want to record this episode. Okay, so today we're talking about happiness, because I've done an episode about this ages and ages ago about happy habits, but I have more for you today because I feel like I am the most happiest and content and peaceful I've ever felt in my life. And so I'd love to share some of the things I have learnt. First of all, as always, I do believe happiness is a choice, okay? Because if you are choosing the better thinking thought, and you're choosing the happy actions and the happy feelings and all of that, versus complaining and sitting around and being a victim, obviously you're not going to be as happy. So I think know that happiness is a choice, and that is very empowering because then it means it is in our control and we can have more of it. So I actually wrote a little list about happiness because I didn't want to forget anything. So the other day I thought of this thing, and I was asking other people, what does happiness mean to you? And then I thought, wow, what does happiness mean to me? And I thought on it, I pondered on it, and then I thought, do you know what? I think happiness is putting your oxygen mask on first and then helping others. I truly think when you are on your path to where you want to go and you're working towards it, I just feel like you're just so happy because you're living in alignment and you're being true to what you actually want. And then you're helpful to other people when you're happy versus just helping everybody else, being a people pleaser, sacrificing what you actually want just to please people in the moment. That doesn't make you happy. So I think for happiness, you kind of need an element of selfishness. But I don't even look at it as selfishness. I think it's so strong to be like, this is what I want to do and this is where I'm going and I'm going to honor what I want. And then you shine bright like a diamond, and then it gets to shine on to other people. So I think that's one of the biggest ones. I think getting clear on what you want and what type of life you want is really important for happiness, because you can think like, oh, I want the Mercedes and I want the city life and all of this. But then if you think about it, where do you actually feel happiest? Personally, I've realized I do not thrive in a city. Yes, I live on the Gold Coast, but I don't live in the city part of the Gold Coast. I thrive in nature. I thrive in warm weather. I thrive by the seaside. I thrive in all those awesome elements, okay? And yes, if I'm in the city and it's gold and I don't have those things, I can still be happy. But I'm just thinking like, this is where I thrive the most. I thrive the most when I'm with people, when I'm working with people, when I'm empowering people, okay? So get clear on what you want. And if you want $1 million in the bank and a Ferrari, that's fine. Don't be ashamed. Don't be like, oh no, that's so superficial. That's fine. So get really clear on what you want, because then you can take action towards those things. And again, that makes you happy because you're on the path to where you want to go and you're living in alignment. Okay. Next one. I dare you guys for 10 days to do everything on this list to a T and still not be happy. Okay? It's a genuine challenge. So please message me if you do this whole list and you're still not happy. 1, sleep. Getting 8 hours of solid actual sleep every single night. 2, movement. Even if it's just half an hour of walking every day, I dare you to do that. 3, whole foods. Eating mainly whole foods, whether you're a vegan, carnivore, whatever, just eating the most least processed foods. Obviously, a little pizza and a muffin and a cookie here and there never hurt anyone, but 80% of your diet being whole foods. I dare you to get sun every day, just 20 minutes, enough to get that good juju and connection. Okay, I dare you to go and connect with people that you love, people that fill your soul up. I dare you to do that for 10 days in a row, all of those things, and to not feel a little bit happier. Okay, so I do think there are habits and things that we can do every single day to make us feel happy. So keep that in mind. The things I listed is sleep, movement, whole foods, your diet, sun, and connection. Those are personally the things that have made the biggest effect for me. And I was listening to this podcast the other day, and they were talking about how like we overcomplicate like what actually makes us feel happy and safe. And like our ancestors felt oxytocin release when we were hugging people, when we were with our tribe, when we were giving and connecting to the community, when we were eating, when we were in the sun, when we were moving our bodies and all of those. It's like it hasn't changed. So we know what makes us feel good. So please go do that. And the thing is you might not feel like doing it, but just do it anyway. Think about how good you'll feel. That's how I convince myself to do things I don't feel like doing. Okay, now I have a little story to tell you because a few weeks ago I realized I was stopping myself from feeling happiness, okay? And feeling like I was feeling happy, but I wasn't allowing myself to feel all the joys and glory of every day because I had convinced myself a silly little thought, which was I don't deserve to feel enjoyment and happiness throughout my whole day because I haven't achieved X, Y, and Z. Okay? Which is crazy, but I'm glad that I confronted myself about this, right? So I had convinced myself that I didn't deserve to feel these things because I was like, oh no, I'm working towards my dreams. Like, and then I'll feel it. And then I asked myself, Andy, once you've achieved this goal, what's your day going to look like? What's your week going to look like? You know, just to hype me up. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, so I'm going to do this and I'm going to exercise here and I'm going to hang out with this person and I'm going to do this in the morning and this in the evening and this is where I'm going to go. And then I asked myself, well, Andy, that day that you just described, your most perfect day, can you do majority of those things already? And I was like, oh, yeah, I can. Because a lot of them like actually didn't cost money. And I was like, wow, isn't that interesting that I have been stopping myself from having those days and enjoying every day because I was like, oh no, you're working towards this goal, so you need to find it hard and you need to suffer. Okay? Really weird that I thought that, but for some reason I did. Anyway, and then I was speaking to my boyfriend about it and then he was just like, oh, have you heard the story of the Mexican fisherman? And I was like, oh, no, tell me more. So he proceeded to tell me this story. So basically, and I'm now going to tell you the story. Okay. So there is this Mexican fisherman and he goes out fishing in the morning and he goes and catches a few fish for his family and then a few to sell at the markets. He comes home, he sells some fish at the markets and his family get to eat delicious fish. He spends time with them. In the afternoon, he's hanging out in his hammock. And then in the evening, he goes out and sees all his friends. And in the morning, he wakes up to his beautiful family, has breakfast with them, and goes out fishing and does that all again. And he really enjoys his time, and he always has enough for his family and sells a little bit extra at the markets for some money. Then one day, an American businessman sees him doing his thing. And when the Mexican man comes back to the beach, the American says, well, you know, you've got really good skills there. You could be earning a lot more money. And he was just like, the fisherman was like, oh, okay, tell me more. And he was like, well, if you stayed out a little bit longer, you could get more fish. You could earn more fish. And then the fisherman was like, oh, okay. And then what I would do? Then what would I do? And then the American said, well, then with more fish, you would have more money. And the Mexican said, okay, well, what would I do with the more money? Then he said, well, you would buy a bigger boat and you would hire staff and then they could catch you more fish and then you would earn even more money. And the fisherman said, oh, okay. And then what would I do with all of that? And then he says, well, then you would buy even more boats and have even more people working for you. And then you could even move to the city and not have to fish at all and just manage the business. And then the fisherman said, oh, okay, right. Okay, I have a lot of money. Okay, then what would I do? And then the American said, well, then here's the best bit. You'd get to sell your money and sell your business and have a huge amount of money And then he's like, okay, cool. And then what would I do with that money? And then he was like, right, well, this is the best bit is that you would get to move back here and just live your life, and you'd be able to go out every day and go and fish like you love to do, and then come home and see your family, and you'd get to go and hang out with your friends in the evening, and you'd get to spend the afternoons in your hammock, and you get to do that for the rest of the time. So that's a story, and obviously, well, I feel like the moral of the story is that sometimes you already have what you want, and going after this big, ambitious thing that you think you want. Well, actually, the Mexican man didn't even want it. He was enjoying the life he lived. But what I'm saying, I'm butchering this a lot. So thanks for being patient with me. But the moral of the story is what I got from it is that sometimes you already have the things that you want, and you think that I need to do X, Y, and Z to be able to earn it or get it, but you already have it. For example, you already have probably amazing family and friends. You probably already have your health and wellness. You probably already have the ability to have all these healthy skills. And we always think like, when I get here, then I'll be happy. Then I'll start the habits. Then I'll allow myself to enjoy things. But it's like, why can't we just enjoy things now and enjoy the journey? Yeah, of course, still be ambitious, still go after your goals, of course. But like, why not also enjoy every single day? Because we truly do not know when it's our last day. And so that's the story of the Mexican fisherman. And it really, really made me be like, okay, how do I want to be spending my days? And yes, of course, I love working hard and going after my goals, but I also want to be focusing on the today and doing those things as well. So I hope that story helped you as much as it did to me, because it really helped me. Okay. The next for happiness is you have got to prioritize what actually makes you happy. Okay? I've written here, connection working towards your goal. What? So yeah, you've really, really got to prioritize what actually makes you happy. Stop thinking about what will make your parents happy, your friends happy, society happy, and how people perceive you. Okay? If you're chasing your tail to try and impress others, it will never, ever make you happy. So get clear on what you want. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but it's really true. Okay. Lol. Okay. The second last one is doing kind things for others. This actually makes you so, so happy. They say the best way to cheer yourself up is to cheer others up, and that couldn't be more true. When we do kind things for others, it actually makes us feel so good about ourselves. And whilst you might think like, oh, that's selfish, it's like, well, everyone's winning. This person's getting a kind act of service, and you're feeling good about yourself. And it could be something that's so small as when you go and buy coffee, be like, hey, can I always pay for the person's coffee, like who buys next, right? That's going to make someone's day. It might be dropping some food off for a friend who's going through a hard time. It could be donating to a charity. It could be hanging out with a friend who you know is going through a hard time. It could be going and chatting to your elderly neighbor because you know that they need the company. Whatever it is, doing kind things makes you happier. And we had Cooper Chapman on the podcast, and he spoke that there's actual scientific studies that kinder people are happier people. Disclaimer, I am not talking about people pleasing, okay? Don't people please. If you're just doing something to please somebody else, but you actually don't want to do this service, then obviously don't do that. But doing kind things because you want to be doing them is a different thing. So always focus on that. And when I was in my hectic hustle phase, I have to admit, I was pretty selfish and I wasn't thinking about other people as much. And when you go out of your way and do just small, kind things for people, it really does brighten their day, which brightens your day. Okay. I could go on forever about happiness and ways to improve your happiness, but these were just kind of my most recent epiphanies that I wanted to share. And my last thing is with happiness is that if you need help and you need to talk to somebody, go and do that. Like, that is fantastic. And there's nothing wrong with that. And sometimes we all need a little extra helping hand during hard times in our lives. I really feel like happiness comes and goes in different waves, and sometimes we're high on life, and then sometimes we're a little bit low, and sometimes we're really low that we need somebody's hand to help pull us out, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've spoken before about my absolute meltdown when I dropped out of uni for like 3 days back in, I don't know, 2020, maybe 2019, and when I was going through that, I went and saw a psychologist, and we had 4 sessions, and those 4 sessions I still refer to this day. It was the best money I've possibly ever spent, and she really, really helped me. And so I think there's nothing wrong with going and speaking to somebody and getting some mental frames and some ways to look at life so that you can now stand stronger and have that helping hand, okay? So I just wanted to put that out there because there's really nothing wrong with going and speaking to someone. And sometimes it's really nice just to get things off your chest, and somebody who doesn't know you, somebody who's not going to judge you, and all of that. So those are my tips. I hope you enjoyed them. Thank you so, so much for listening and watching. I really, really appreciate it. You know what would make me happy is if you subscribed or followed. Haha. No, kidding. I'm already happy and I don't need your validation, but I would appreciate it. Anyway, I'm going to go. I'm getting a little bit crazy. If you want to come say howdy, we're on Instagram at Attitudes with Andy. We're also on TikTok at Attitudes with Andy. And I'll see you guys next week for another episode. I love you. Bye. Mwah.